The best way I found to adjust this mechanism is to start out by having these lower tabs or these tangs that come through, have them about 1/8 of an inch below this plate that the balls rest on. So at least 1/16 of an inch lower than that, up to 1/8. And most of these games have a screw underneath the frame that you can adjust for where that resting position is. So with those front tangs being about 1/16 to 1/8 below where the ball rests, then the next thing you want to look at is this rod right here coming up. And now the three different plates, this one, and that one, all of those tabs that are sticking down and touching this rod, you want to have those tabs have just a little bit of a gap. And so I should be able to move this just a tiny bit before it contacts that rod and starts to push it. I made this adjusting bar that I can use to bend these tabs either a little bit backwards or a little forwards so they are closer or farther away from touching this rod. And this bending bar has slots in it. This slot is straight at a 90-degree angle. This one is slightly tipped in one direction, and then on the other side I have it slightly tipped in the other direction. And that's because there is such narrow space to get in here and work. Sometimes I have to use one that's slightly tipped this way or that way, but you can get in here and get on these and then bend them so they're either closer to touching this rod or farther away. And the thing you're looking for when you're bending those tabs in the back and adjusting the amount of play you have right here on these plates, you've got 1, 2, 3 plates coming down. There should be a little bit of play before you engage that rod, which once the rod engages it lifts up these fingers. And so you're having to adjust the amount of play or free space before you start to lift these rods. And what you're looking for is this. When the plate goes down and lifts these fingers, you want the ball to be able to go underneath like it just did. I'll just show you again. Okay, boom, go underneath, but you want it to just barely clear this tab. And so I have just a thousandths or a couple thousandths at the most of clearance when I push this plate down and the ball can sneak underneath. If you don't have enough play here, then this is going to be raised much higher. And if you have too much play here before you raise this, then it's not going to get raised enough. But it needs to just raise enough and let that ball sneak under. So very critical adjustments, all of these. And then all of the weights that are under here that have the ability to swivel or pivot so it throws their weight in or out, that will adjust how much pressure it takes to push down on these plates. So when the ball comes to it, you want the weight of the ball to push down and just have a nice slow but continuous drop down and move on. If that weight or those weights under there are swung too far back, then you're not going to have the ball have enough force to go down, or it's going to go down very slow or maybe get stuck. If the weight is too far forward, then the ball will go down very quickly and not give these levers in front a chance to fully operate. So it's going back and forth between adjusting the height of these and the weights. And then also all these pivot points have to be completely clean. If they're all old and grungy or dirty, then it's not going to allow this to freely move. So that's why when I go through on these, it comes completely apart. Every single rod and pivot point is polished and cleaned up. What I do to test the mechanism once I think I have it all adjusted is I'll load up my bases first, second, and third, and then I'll make a triple. And what you should see is all three of these get walked into home runs and the triple end up in the third position. But if you do not have it in adjustment, what happens a lot of times is this last ball won't walk all the way down. You end up with two balls sitting here on third base or some other condition like that. So load up first and second, and this time let's do a double instead. Alright, so then you have man on 2 and 3. And because a single, double, or triple are all working different of 3 plates, you really need to test all of them. So let's test a single, and then test a double, and then I can load up the bases again, test a triple, and another test to make sure you've got everything completely adjusted. With bases loaded, get a home run, which is the very last one here on this closest side. That'll walk all the players in, including the one that just went down this last row. Then there's other tests like having just a single and then get a triple. So the single should have gotten walked all the way into home and your triple ends up there. Or you could have a single and hit a double, end up with men on second and third base, and let's do a home run, walk them all in. So it looks like it's adjusted pretty well.
For more information, visit GameRoomRepair.com.